Hi, I'm Scott. In this video, I'm going to cover the process of installing the monitor brightness kit for the Arcade 1UP Wave 1 and Wave 2 cabinets. This video is part of a series of videos I've created for the Arcade 1UP cabinets. Monitors on the Arcade 1UP Wave 1 and Wave 2 cabinets are often washed out. In the cabinets, they don't come with any controls on those monitors to adjust the brightness. This washed out appearance is really noticeable when you compare it to a Wave 3 cabinet, such as the Costco bundle Mortal Kombat, or Pac-Man, or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, or the Marvel Superheroes, or the Star Wars cabinet. BerryBerrySneaky, he has an Etsy store on eBay, and he goes by the name GeekSales. On there, he sells a monitor brightness kit. Now you can install this monitor brightness kit on your Wave 1 or Wave 2 cabinets, and this will allow you to adjust the brightness of that monitor so you can make it just a little less bright and a little less washed out. In this video, I'll go through the installation process step by step, and I'll let you see for yourself if it's an easy or a difficult mod. And I'll let you know if it's worth the expense and the time to install the monitor brightness kit. In this video, I list all the cabinets associated with Wave 1 and all the cabinets that are associated with Wave 2. This will let you know if this monitor brightness kit will work for the cabinet that you own. Okay, let's get started. Alright, I ordered 2 of these kits from GeekSales. I'm going to put one in my Centipede and one in my Asteroids cabinet. So what do I get in here? I got directions, and I got 2 separate kits, one for each the cabinets. And there's my invoice. Thanks. So let's go over the instructions really quick. Nice color printed 2-sided copy, and they're straightforward. I'll go through them as we go through each step of the process. And then inside the kit, just got the regular one. I'll set it and leave it. So I have got the PCB. This is going to replace the controller board in the monitor. That's the default. So there's 2 plugs here. I'll unplug. It's got a double sticky tape on the back. I'll take this off, stick it on there, take the plugs out of the old one, stick the plugs in this one, put it all back together, and we're all good. So this long piece right here, that's got the controller on it. I'll just twist it to make the brightness or darker. And then this little pigtail one, this will replace the current thing that plugs into your PCB. So it's pretty straightforward. Looks to be anyway. We'll see once we install it all. right, we're at step 1. Step 1 is remove the control panel. Okay, so I'll unscrew the 4 screws here. Before I get started, I'll turn the game off, and then I'll remove the ribbon cable, and I'll pull the control panel out. Okay, just a little tip on what I do when I do the control panels. Once I took the 4 screws off, I took the acrylic clear panel protector and moved to the side so it wouldn't get scratched. And then I flip my control panels up like this, so it makes it easier to get this ribbon cable off. Okay, so the cable's off, and that's how I put it when I put the cable back on too. We're on to step 2. Step 2 is remove, let's see if that focuses, remove the monitor cover bezel. Now for asteroids, this right here, there's just 4 screws, 2 at the bottom and 2 at the top. And I'll remove those, and I'll pull that plastic cover, the bezel protector off. All right, I'm back and I'm finishing up step 2. So I've unscrewed the 2 bottom screws, and I've unscrewed the top left, and I've loosened the top right. This thing is barely hanging. So I just want to show you this. If you just go around doing these screws, this panel is just going to fall to your cabinet and get all scratched up. So be kind of careful when you remove the bottom 2, loosen the top 2, make sure it's not going to fall when you remove one of these, and then kind of come up here manually and unscrew it. I just dropped the screw, which is okay. Better the screw than this plexiglass. And then it just pulls out like this. So I'm in total control of it. Okay. All right, we're on to step 3. Step 3 says remove the 8 screws that are holding the monitor. That's holding the monitor, this piece right here, to the board. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws on each side, so a total of 8. By the way, this is a horizontal monitor. If this is a vertical monitor, this would just be flipped and would look like this, and you'd have the 4 screws here and the 4 screws on that. So when we do the centipede, that's how it'll be set up. So I'll unscrew those 8 screws, and then the monitor will fold out. On the next step, I'm just going to do it here while I'm thinking about it. When this goes forward, the power wire is still connected to the PCB, and it tells you to do that in the next step. And I'm just pulling it off now while I'm in there, so that when I fold it forward, I can keep my hands on the monitor and not touch it. Don't want to scratch it or anything, and just be focused on that and not trying to get some wire out of the way. All right, I'm back to finish step 3, which is remove the 8 screws, 4 on each side. And then to do step 4, and step 4 is to tilt the monitor out. Don't forget to unplug the power cable, which we did during the beginning of step 3. And then I'll remove this monitor from here, being careful not to touch the panel. I'll be handling it by these edges, and then I'll take it over to my workbench, aka ping pong table, and I'll put it on a soft cloth, and then we'll do the rest of the project from there. So the 2 screws are loose. Got 2 screws holding them, they're loose, and I finish unscrewing them. Make sure it doesn't fall out. I'm very careful about making sure that the monitor doesn't fall out. So, okay, now all 8 screws are loose. I'm just going to try and tilt this thing forward. Here it comes, it's loose. And there it is in all its glory. And there's a ribbon cable. Now, because we removed that black power cable at the beginning of the step 3, I can keep my hands on the monitor like this. I'm holding it by the casing, not touching it. So you can't see me, my bench is right behind it. So I'm gonna go put this on the bench, and I'll move the camera. All right, got the monitor on my workbench, got it on a towel. I just want to show you there's 4 screws holding this case in, 2 on each side. So here's 1, here's 2, and it's got a sticker on it. It says, hey, you're gonna void the warranty if you take that off. So we'll talk about that in a second. And here are the other 2 screws. So we're going to try to just remove the 2 screws Now I've had this game for over a year, so I ain't really too worried about the warranty, but I'm going to see if I can remove the 2 screws here and just pry it open enough to do the work. If not, then I'll take the sticker off and remove those 2 screws. So I will say this, these were difficult to unscrew, extremely tight. I did, while the film was off, loosen these 2, and I was really concerned. I was stripping the screws out, the heads. So even though they're Phillips, I mean, I had to push here, get it extremely tight and turn it, and you know, it was a risk, but I got them loose. All right, moving on to step 6. Maybe right here. Step 6. A lot of words there, but basically what it's saying is remove the PCB, this metal case. There's a screw here, screw there. I'll unscrew those, I'll pop it off. Okay, I removed the 2 screws. I pulled the metal case back. Now I can see my PCB. I'm going to remove the ground screw. Okay, the ground screw came out. Now we're left with 2 wires, 2 connectors. This black connector, and if you notice, it's got the red wires over here where the ground screw was. It's also a white dot on the connector. And then I think it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a 6-pin connector, which has 3 wires in it. A black, a yellow, and a red, which we're going to replace. The red wire is on this side. So red wire is pointing that way, red wire is pointing this way. So you have to be gentle with these connectors or you pull the wires out of them. So there, the black one popped off and then the white one came off. So now the PCB is disconnected. I'll set that over there. We'll need that in a second. So here's the black wire. And by the way, if you do this, that was shoved all the way in there. You do want some of that extra wire in there and you want some of it out. If you're going to modify this, put a Pi or a Pandora box or an iCade box in there, you want all this cable out because you're going to put your Pi or your box down below. You won't put it on this, so you'll want this extra wire out of here. Okay, the extra wire for this white plug. Now that white plug is going to be replaced by this white plug on the new kit. So we're done with step 6. We're going on to step 7. Now step 7 is where we're going to pull this case off, and I did some stuff off camera. So there was those 4 screws. I could only get one of them out. The other 3 stripped on me. I was like, oh my gosh. So typical mod, not everything can go perfectly. So what I did is I got my Dremel tool out and I grounded the head off of one of them. And that lets me, I'm gonna flip this over. And well, that will let me pry this up enough where this much of a pry. I think I can do it. So we'll see. It's gonna be difficult to get that on the camera. Once again, there it is inside on the back frame. That's the little bitty controller that we're going to replace. And those 2 connectors are in a position where I should be able to pull them off. So we'll see. Okay, I thought it'd be important to go ahead and just videotape this, even though it won't be glamorous, but in case some of y'all get stuck and have to do it this way, or if you want to try by just doing 2 screws and prying it open instead of 4 screws. So I've got my kit here from GeekSales or BerryBerrySneaky. So I'm just going to disconnect this black connector because I'm not going to be able to get this through the hole in the back of the monitor. So just disconnect it. I put it aside. Now I've got this pried open. So I'm just going to set it up on its side like this. I'm going to try and get y'all camera to see it. Okay. So I'm going to take this long wire and put my juicy fingers through there, and I'm pulling that through the other side. So I'm really, even though it doesn't look like I'm being careful not to touch the monitor screen, not to do any damage to any wires in there. And then now I'm going to take this connector and try to be graceful and also move it through. And it's caught here. Okay, so I have all my wires through. Okay, let me just turn this around. Okay, so this is the back of my panel. This is my new wire. This is my new wire. And this is the old wire. And so what I'm going to do before I get too confused, I'm going to stop the tape. I'm going to go get something and pull this up, make sure I know this is the old. And by the way, that's that black connector. That's original. We'll use that again in the ground. So I will be, let me set this up where it won't get scratched. Okay. All right, I just came back. I just put a piece of tape, electrical tape, just over that harness. I know which one is the old one, the original one. And, you know, I'll just, once I get done working on all this, I'll shove it up in there. So it will go all the way in there. I won't have to be too careful about it, but just to give you an idea. But this is my new one. Notice how loose it is. It's because I haven't put that double-sided sticky tape on it, and then I got to switch the two connectors around. All right, so I'm going to put the sticky thing on it last. I left it on there. I'm going to make sure I get my blue connectors on there first. So I've already removed one and put it up. Now, notice how the blue wires, these connectors only go in one way. So I'm getting my fat fingers in there, prying those connectors off the old board. So hopefully you can see that there. And I'll plug it into the new board. Now, I have all this extra wire. So I want to make sure I have plenty of room to put my wire down and also my sticky tape. And I do. Got plenty of room. But you'll want to make sure you cover up any screw holes. Nope. I won't be covering up any screw holes. Okay. So I'm just pulling this back out just a little bit. Ah, there it comes. Okay, that's off. Now I'm using the extra wire just to try to help me put it in place. There, and I'm just pressing it onto the inside of that thing. So, let's see if I can hold it up there for you to see. So it's in there. Okay. All right, let me just double press it. All right. So we are going to pull some of this other wire back in there. We don't need it anymore. We have all of our wire out. We are good to go. Okay, so I'm just gonna flip it over rather. All right, in that last section of the video, we actually did step 8 was remove the cover from the monitor. So we covered all that, step 8. And then we did step 9, which was feed the new black wires through the cover hole. And then we did step 10, which was peel the backing of the paper and stick the new board next to the old one, making sure it's not on top of the screw holes. And then we did 11, transfer both backlight wires to the new board. That's those blue and white connectors. And then 12, we're down to 12, reassemble the monitor cover, feed the black video cable, and new harness through the hole. Make note of the old harness, tuck it in the monitor cover. So we did all that. So now we're on to step 13, which is reattach the PCB. So we'll do that piece now. So we got going backwards. I like putting the ground on it first. So my ground screw is over here. We'll insert the ground screw. We'll insert the ground screw. Okay. All right, got the ground screw done. Then we do the black connector. And remember, the red wires go that way and the white dot goes that way. These are tiny connectors. Got my reading glasses on. That was off there. Off there. And looks like I got them. Okay. And then the last piece is our new connector. And remember, the red wire is going to go this way. So there goes our new connector. So we got our PCB rewired. Okay. So there's the old connector right there. And I'm pushing some of this old wire back in there so I can get the case on. Now, this is something different. This new cable, we're going to want to lay it underneath the ribbon cable when we attach this, so it has a place to come out. So it'll be just like this. So it's underneath the ribbon cable. So I'll just attach the 2 screws and then we'll have the PCB cover connected. Okay, so PCB is back together, and now we got our harness that's exposed, and we're good to go for this step. So that's fantastic. We're going to see feed step 13. Okay, feed the brightness adjustment cable under the ribbon cable, attach it to the metal box, the monitor cable. Pushing the extra wire into the covers hole, freed up. Okay, and then we're basically on to step 15. All right, reinstall the monitor bezel, plug in the power cord, reconnect the control panel ribbon cable, remount the control panel. All right, so we're just gonna go back and retrace the steps. This is basically 15. We're just gonna reinstall everything. So we're just gonna do a whole bunch of single steps we did before, but all in this one step. So I'm going to put the monitor back in here, put the ribbon cable back there, put the 4 screws here and the 4 screws there. So you saw the red, white, and yellow cable. That is for the adjustment. All right, so I have my display back in there. Now, it was just a little tight because when I was, opening the monitor to put that stuff inside between the monitor and the case, that metal, which is very thin, very pliable, it would sprung a little bit, so it was a little tight. So I just had to make sure I was pushing everything in, being very gentle and not to touch. Like right there, I have a fingerprint. So I'm going to have to remove that, but not to touch that monitor. So let me go ahead and install the screws. Once again, I'm not going to bore you with filming all that, but I'm going to install the 8 screws right there. All right, I installed the 4 screws on each side. Now I put all 4 in just to get them started, and then once I made sure all 4 fit in the holes and they were started, then I tightened them down. Then I went in and underneath here I attached the black power cable to the PCB, and then I also took this wiring harness for the brightness adjustment. I'm going to lay it out here, so when we put the control panel on, I'll just have this hanging out for now, just so that in this video I can demonstrate that it's working on brightness and darkness without having to keep going back to the back side of the cabinet. But before I screw the control panel in, I'll end up setting that right and then just throwing that in the cabinet in case I need it for future use. All right, so next we are going to install the bezel. Now before I put this monitor bezel in, I made sure this was totally clean. I made sure there's no fingerprint. I had one fingerprint right here, and I went ahead and breathed on it, get a little moisture, and then a dustproof cloth to wipe it off. But there's no fingerprints anywhere on that. So then I can put this on there. So this just has 4 screws. They're black screws, one on each corner, and I'll put that in, and we'll come back. Okay, install the 4 black screws on the bezel, and now I'm going to install the control panel. Basically, I'm going to make the ribbon connector, but I'm not going to screw it down because we want to do that test to see if this actually worked, because I'm going to leave this out. And then once we do our test, I'll put this back down, and then I'll put the acrylic control panel overlay on top of this and screw it down. So here we go. Just put it in here, lean it back, reach in and grab the connector, and it just sits in there like this. Okay, that's on there. I'll just rotate it down. And, okay, so there, got that one black connector. See, it moves freely. There's enough space for that for this test. And that's got my knob out here. So with that, we're at the moment of truth. I'll go ahead and start everything up. Okay, so now we're getting ready to start it. I'm going to take this connector, or this adjuster, and I'm turning it. It's got an indicator. I'm turning it all the way to this way, which would be to my left. And I don't know if that's high or low. So once it comes on, if the screen doesn't come on, I'll turn it the other way. But it's at its maximum of something. It's either maximum brightness or maximum darkness, which would be minimum brightness. Let me cut the lights here. Turn it on, see what happens. There's one light. There's 2 lights. And so let's turn it on and see what happens. So hopefully to start up, you know, all that prying with those strip screws. Oh, that's good. All right, that's good. It's even right side up. I was a little concerned I might have got it upside down, but okay. So once it gets up to the menu, okay, so it's at the menu. Let me turn the knob. So that's maximum. Yeah, so now I'm darkening it some, and that's minimum. So you can barely see something on it, and then that's maximum brightness. So let me go into asteroids. Press 1 to continue. And so what we have over here, I don't know if you can tell on film, but there's bleeding on the edges. And you turn that down. And, you know, my initial thoughts are I have control over it, which is nice, but it doesn't seem to make too much of a difference one way or the other. I still have this bleed over here on my right and a little bit of bleed over here on my left. And that's really where I think that the connectors show through all that stuff. So not too bad. The main thing is I can control it now. So I can still, I don't know if you can tell that, but I can still play the game that way, and then you brighten it up. So that's down all the way. That's up all the way. So, okay, there we go. That's it. That's Asteroids. That's installing the monitor brightness kit from BerryBerrySneaky or GeekSales. Okay, I've already modded the Asteroids and put the monitor brightness kit in it. And that took me some time because I was videotaping and I ran into some problems with those strip screws on the monitor case. So it took about an hour and a half to do this one. Then, since I knew what I was doing, I went ahead and installed the monitor brightness kit on my Centipede, and that took roughly an hour, just a little bit less than an hour. And it would have been faster, but when taking the monitor case off, 3 of the screws came off, but one of them was stripped, so I had to get the Dremel out and Dremel off that head. And that one, I pulled the whole case off the back of the monitor, and I'll show pictures of that too, just so you see the difference of taking the case off the monitor and making a change, and where you just split it apart to separate and put your hands in and make the change. So that one I didn't video. When I pulled the case off, I took pictures. I'll show you guys that. So now we're going to turn on the Centipede, and see what happens there. Hopefully everything works. All right, so here we go. By the way, I just have this up temporarily so I can make adjustments to it. And oh, all right, so it came up, came on, that's a good thing. It came on right side up, that's a good thing. 2 for 2. All right, now learning from the last time, this one is all the way over, and I believe it's all the way brightness, and I'm gonna move the knob, and yeah, so it's all the way brightness. So this is all the way down, and there's just a hint of the picture there. You can probably see it, and now I'm gonna just pull it all the way up to 100%, and notice that the glows right through here. The glowing at 100%, and I'll pull it down just a tad. And so that's about right there. So I can tell you this right now, that looks a lot, that's bright, that looks just a little bit better in person. And then when we turn off the lights, let me hit the 2 lights here. That looks pretty good like that. So, you know, you might think that looks good on the camera, but that looks terrible live. That's all the way up, and that looks about right. So just a tad off, all the way looks best. But I've got both the Centipede done now and the Asteroids done. So a horizontal monitor and a vertical monitor, and it both works fine. All right, that wraps up this video on Arcade 1UP cabinets, where I'm installing the monitor brightness kit into my Wave 1 cabinets, Asteroids and Centipede. I got this monitor brightness kit from BerryBerrySneaky, who has an Etsy store on eBay, and he goes under the name GeekSales. Hopefully this video helps you understand what it takes to perform the modification to your Arcade 1UP monitor and the benefits that you'll derive from it. Since my game was over a year old, I really wasn't worried about breaking a warranty. However, I was worried about breaking a working monitor, scratching my bezel, or scratching my monitor glass. So, got to be really careful when you do this mod not to cause any damage to a working system. Do I think it was worth the money I spent for each of those monitors in my Asteroids and my Centipede game to do the installation, to gain the ability to control the brightness on my monitors? I actually do. So much so that I have 3 other games I need to do. I have another Asteroids, which is one of those $75 cabinets I got on sale. I've got a Rampage game, and I got a Space Invaders. And I'll be installing this monitor brightness kit on each of those 3 games. Now, do I recommend this upgrade to your cabinets? I do recommend this upgrade to your cabinets. This thing would have been pretty easy to do except for those stripped out threads on those 4 monitor bolts, the casing on that. If those threads weren't stripped out, I didn't have to get the Dremel out, this would have been right on the, I don't know, almost easy level. Not quite easy, because if you do something wrong, you'll scratch your bezel, or you'll scratch your monitor, or you could break one of those blue-white wire combinations inside your monitor case. But chances are, if you're careful, you should be okay. Now keep watching my YouTube channel as I release more videos on these Arcade 1UP cabinets. I'll include videos on how to do modifications to cabinets, on reviews of certain cabinets, and how to change these cabinets over to run off a Raspberry Pi or an arcade. So I'll have lots of different content coming up, so make sure you stay tuned. Now make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring that bell to get notifications when I do add those video content to my YouTube channel. Now if you like this video, click the thumbs up. And if you dislike this video, click the thumbs up anyway. Alright, if you got any feedback, leave it in the comment section below. Have a great day, and go out there and play some classic arcade video games on those Arcade 1UP cabinets.